I just froze.
Welcome to On the Chain. That was weird. Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, everyone? What is going on, everyone? And Chip, what's going on, everyone here in the On the Chain family? This is going to be great. Why? Because tomorrow night we have an amazing guest with us, Congressman Byron Donalds. I want to get that shout out now because that is going to be tomorrow night. And whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay, you'll know, hey, I got to go look out for it. Tonight, though, we are going to talk about, there was a seemingly uptick in volume, XRP volume spike. Going to get into that. China dumping U.S. Treasuries. What is going to happen next? Every day is something new. Every day is something crazy. And there's so much that unfolds in the crypto space. We got a lot to talk about. And we got Darcy. He's a Burning Man. He can't get out. He's at Burning Man. That's crazy, too. There's all these people, like 70,000 people stuck at the Burning Man because of rain and all this other stuff and all sorts of chaos. But we want to talk about crypto tonight. Chip, you ready to kick this thing off?
Welcome to On the Chain.
Legendary.
I kicked it off. I love this whole Burning Man thing. It's so funny. It's like the dumbest thing ever. It's like all these VCs, rich people that are going to go or they're going to go glamping. You know, it's like glamping where it's not really camping. You put up a tent, but then you're sleeping like on a real type of a bed with real. It's not typical camping. It's glamorous camping. They call it glamping.
And they get to see when you're burned down.
When your tent is filled with like 2 feet of water. Some people try to drive out in Jeeps. The Jeeps just drove right in the mud. So the problem is there's no for 70,000 people, nobody to feed us. Some guy wrote a great tweet. He said, "Hey, I brought 20,000 pounds of this and food and everything else, and so far I got 2 VCs. Got me some action in some of the startups. I'm killing it. I'm crushing it." I was like, "This guy's great." Awesome. I'm like, I don't know if it's real. I don't think it's funny, but it's so funny because he's like, they'll do anything for warm clothing and some food. And I was thinking, oh God, what a great way to take advantage of people, right? It's like, hey, got these warm jackets. They're going to repel the rain. Nice. And wow, I got some steaks and I got a barbecue. How about that? But how did he get in there? That's the other thing too. Nobody really knows.
Man, so we got a lot of things to cover tonight. Where
as always
do you want to start? Do you want to start with something about Ethereum, or do we want to jump right into XRP because XRP is exciting?
No, I wanted to jump into. Gosh, who put this tweet out? This was just a very good one. I know he's at Learzib, but I'm trying to think of what his handle is. People will be like, people won't recognize this person from that, but this is. Because I want to give a proper shout out. This is Mr. Huber at Learzite, Leerzeit at Learzite. You know Mark Fagel, right? So he did a tweet that said, shout out to Mark Fagel. He's like, hey, Mark Fagel, did you see this new SEC office hours? And we're going to take a look at it. It's pretty short, but he was asking if he saw it. So we're going to take a look at it. What's that?
More SEC office hours with our buddy Gary Gensler.
Yeah, this one's a little bit different, but you got to just watch this one because we're going to play something that's going to be a little bit off, a little bit left of off of center or whatever you want to call it. I got to be careful with the left of center because that's not exactly. It's a little bit loony, but let's listen to it. Here we go, guys. Let's jump in.
Suppose a group of strangers came up to you and said,
a person can buy from any number of different identities. We may limit the unit size of a sale to make it easier to disguise.
Would you invest in the stranger's company?
That's it right there. But let me read through this here. I'm gonna read through it just because it's really hard to hear. We can because I think somebody recorded that event. It wasn't like one of these authorized, but this is Joe Lubin speaking at an event. Maybe many of you have already heard this, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna read through what Joe Lubin said because it's kind of hard. So Gary says, suppose a group of strangers came up to you and said, and this is from the Ethereum and economic considerations. This was Joe Lubin. This was a Q&A that he did some years ago. He said a person could invest. Hang on a second. Let me back this up again. Oh gosh, hang on a second. Here we go. A person can invest in Ethereum, and the person can buy from any number of different identities. We may limit the size of the unit size of a sale just to make it easier to disguise. And then again, just to make it easier to disguise. And Gary's saying, would you buy from this, invest in this stranger's company? So this whole idea was the whales could disguise who they were, right? So this was like nothing to see there, Jeff. Just like, just some random stuff. Just somebody, co-founder of Ethereum, telling people that you could use. They went on to say in that you could use multiple email addresses if you want to disguise who you were. And it's like, wait a minute, why would you disguise who you are? Why would you? Well, because
people wanted to stay private.
Yeah, or perhaps the other thing that could be is there could be a what is going on? Nothing's working. There we go. Nothing's working. There we go. I was like, why isn't it working tonight, Jeff? I don't know. But I think part of that thing, part of what it could be, what you've disguised and what it is, because you wouldn't want to be tied to an initial coin offering. Remember that they offered the coin a year before they actually had the network running.
ICO, sorry.
Initial coin offering, ICO, not to be confused with an IPO, but there you go. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of speculation about this Ripple party coming up. Even John Dean put the kibosh on in the cold water. They're like, I bet it's to announce they're going to do an IPO. And I'm like, well, why would Ripple was very clear on why they're having the party. As soon as the ruling came down, Brad Garlinghouse announced, hey, we got to have a proper party. This is called the proper party. Proper party was for people staying with it, for people being supporters, and to supporting the fact that XRP is not a security. That's it. Everyone's reading into everything. Yeah, the Garlinghouse, if you add up every letter from every tweet he put together and divide that by this number, then that means that on this date, this is going to happen. And I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's fun to speculate, Jeff. But let's be serious.
To speculate.
It's speculation, Jeff. See.
Yeah, we got PB coming in from Slovakia.
Oh yeah.
Everyone, give a quick shout out where you guys are tuning in from. It's pretty great. You know, we have people from all over the world. I know we got Bristol, UK, and now we know we got Slovakia. And if anyone over in the UK who's a Arsenal fan, I'm sure you guys are fired up. And if you were a Man U fan, probably not so much.
Probably not so much. Get him next time. We'll get him next time, Jeff. That's no problem. So I wanted to jump in this one here. This is Xahau. Remember Xahau is the XRP plus.
Got some whales.
Whales. You got it? Whales. WHALES. Whales.
Whales.
Yeah. One of my best stories ever in the UK, Jeff, is going through a small town in Wales. Just happened to be right across from a cemetery. It's a ghost story, Jeff. And weird things happen, man. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of weird stuff. There's a lot of old. Some of those was a bed and breakfast built on top of a pub. That's the greatest thing ever. You have a pub on the bottom floor, and right up the stairs are the bedrooms. It could be greater than that.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
I got Baldwinsville, New York.
Gold Coast, Australia. Big event coming up there in March of 2024. The Gold Coast Meetup XRPL is going to be the event, the biggest event on any continent for sure. Anything. I mean, there's a Ripple party, but I'm talking about independent. It's going to be a big deal, and we're getting pretty excited about it. So, howdy, y'all.
You get Bitcoin, BMW. All right, Chip. What's next on tap here?
I want to put on here. This is Scott Chamberlain put out a good tweet. I thought this was good. I always like when people put out some really easy to read tweets. Not you have to read too much into it.
You don't want to read too much through it. Yeah.
Scott Chamberlain, former attorney, but he is the co-founder of Evernote. Heard a lot about Evernote and Xahau. Yeah. He put out this tweet right here, and he's basically saying these are the fun Xahau facts, and as opposed to the horrible, unfun Xahau facts. These are the fun ones. So the token is called Xahau XRP. The ticker is XRP plus. Okay. XRP plus is just the suggested ticker, and this
thank goodness.
Yeah, it's probably not going to end up being XRP plus because I mean, how utterly confusing and horrendous could that be?
It was a
Nothing
bad
is-
idea. Bad idea. Don't know who gave him the advice to say XRP plus would be a good idea.
Someone suggested XRPP when it's already taken by XRPP. So the exchanges might not adopt it. Of course not. I've never. Have you ever seen a plus or a symbol? It's 3 letters. It's alphanumeric. There's no.
I think it should just be two letters, and it should just be XA
Yeah. Well, or how about XAH?
or XAH. You could do that too.
Yeah,
It could be
XAH.
cool.
Zahau.
You
Wait,
obviously can't do
Xahau?
X. X is already
No.
taken.
Yeah. So tickers are hard because most are already taken. Good point. And most projects have already died and gone someplace where the sun doesn't shine. And the Xahau ledger isn't a canary. It's just
Ooh.
agile.
Is
It's
that
the
a shot across somebody's bow?
No,
You don't think
No.
so?
no.
Okay.
He's just talking about. No, I mean
not a
you're reading into
canary.
it too much. It's just agile. It's the ecosystem's cruiser to the XRPL battleship. Number 4, Evernode and Xahau are 2 different things. So Evernode is Xahau's first use case. It's sort of anchor tenant, if you will. And he goes on to say that they're launching on Xahau because it has hooks. So the whole idea,
Very cool.
we've heard about this hooks. Hooks are just
I love
smart contracts, right? That's all it is, smart contracts.
We love hooks. We love hooks and sidechains.
Yeah. So hooks actually got a name called Xahau. The reason Evernode's using it is because of the hooks. It makes a lot of sense.
Cool. And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, smart contracts is kind of a dumb name too, but hooks doesn't help any, right? So
Hooks definitely does not help, but I think if you think about it from a developer's perspective, a programmability perspective, they want to have some cool name for it. Call it hooks. Maybe it makes sense in that world. In mainstream business sense, I think hooks is very confusing. Smart contracts actually makes more sense than the hooks.
yeah,
Still
but
confusing.
but if you think about hooks, it does kind of describe what happens. A smart contract,
You need them both of them.
you know what that reminds me of? I mean, Jeff, do we ever call it a smartphone anymore? Remember, it's a smartphone. What does it do? Well, it does everything but actually dial phone numbers, right? So
Right.
it's like who actually makes phone calls on their phones?
Right, yeah. Call me on my phone. Call me on what? Here you go. Car phone, cell phone, smartphone.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Which
always.
one do you use?
Well, here's the one I use. First of all, most phones don't use cell technology anymore, so calling it a cell phone is already antiquated. I've been calling it a mobile phone for like 15 years because it's a mobile phone.
Right.
Yeah, it's a mobile. You call me on my mobile, whatever. But people still say call me on my cell, almost unless
I
you
do
have
that all
like.
the time. I should just say call me on my cell or call me on here's my cell phone number.
Yeah, but doesn't use cellular technology anymore. Unless you have one of those flip phones. You have a Nokia, don't you? I knew it.
Yeah.
You have a Nokia. See, there you go. See that? Now that is a cell phone. Okay, then I can't correct it.
When I tell people to call me on my cell phone, what I really mean is call me on this cool little phone here.
Yeah, it's so little, Jeff. It's like it's a half a brick.
Dude, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
I wish. I would love to have one of these. I would love to have one of these back. This is the best thing ever.
No, not me.
Dude.
I had one of those. No. That's the other thing. Like, I got a couple of pet peeves around phones. So, like, if I think about mobiles,
how about did you have a StarTech?
I didn't have a StarTech. No,
you did not.
No, I jumped right into. I was that nut job waiting in line for like 4 hours to get the first iPhone. That was me. But before that, I had the one we talked about this before. I had the one that had the little built-in buttons with the Palm Pilot. No, was it the Palm Pilot? Yeah, the Palm Pilot. I had that one.
But what did you have before that, though?
I had a Razor.
The Razor.
Hello, Mojo.
Which one was the Razor?
Hello, Mojo or Mojo.
What did the Razor look like? Was that a flip phone?
The Razor was a flip phone, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
What was that one that was?
Oh, I remember those.
Hello,
Mojo.
Was it Mojo?
Hello, Mojo. No, Moto.
Hello, Moto. It was a Motorola, right? Hello, Moto. That was the whole like sort of thing. Then I had the Palm.
And then Mazda.
Yeah, the Razor was a good one, but I had some crappy one before that. And then everything changed when it went to iPhone. And then Android and everything else. But we don't call them smartphones anymore. 2007.
Oh, BlackBerry.
BlackBerry before that.
was
I had a BlackBerry. I turned it in.
BlackBerry.
I hated it with a
I liked
passion.
my BlackBerry. It
Hated
was the
everything
only
about
phone
my
that,
BlackBerry.
you know what was nice about it? It was the only phone that traveled international well back then. None of the other
Yeah,
phones
well,
worked properly. And
I don't
typing
know,
on it was the
those are my
best. I
group.
could fly in that thing. I could type without looking, just like
Yeah, now I just talk to
it was
my
the greatest.
smartphone, Jeff.
Yeah.
So the whole point of
I
it
can
is like
talk
we
to
don't call
AI
them
now.
smartphones, like smart
Mhm.
contracts. It's like, you know, at
Yeah,
least
that's the
hooks.
part. Yeah, hooks. You're right. From that
Hooks maybe
perspective,
is
the smart
a
part
little
doesn't.
more updated. Smart contracts. They're so smart, Jeff. They know when they want. You can queue them up and execute them on certain events happening. They're smart. Almost anytime you call a contract smart, it's there you go.
Yeah, you know you have an issue.
Oh yeah, that big old bag you had to carry around. That
Dude,
was
I remember. Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, the big
Yeah.
bricks. The big
Sophie
bricks.
loved the
Those are
BlackBerry.
awesome too.
Those are one of those companies that couldn't make it, couldn't figure it out. They couldn't adapt, and they lost, and they went out of business. The other bad thing was, I think they were like one of those first companies, the pioneer, the two dual CEOs. Sorry, man, not a good idea. That was like the first red flag right there. It's like you're headed for disaster. Nokia at least did a little bit of pivots.
How about this one, Nextel? I never
Yeah,
had. I
Nextel
knew
was
friends
another
that
one.
had Nextel. Nextel.
Was that the one that went, and you went, hello?
Yeah.
It was like the little.
That was
Every
exactly.
time I'd be out with my buddies, it'd be, and we're like, dude, shut that thing off. You drive me insane. Are you there?
They were so
Yeah, I'm
crazy.
here.
And anyone who had one thought they were
Yes,
so
I'm
cool.
here. Where are you? I'm at the pub. Which one? I'm like, dude, just call him right now. You drive me insane. Remember that?
Oh my god, that's
like,
so funny.
It was like it had like
Oh,
a little walkie-talkie sort of like system in it.
Oh yeah, my buddy
And
had one of those
people
too, and they all
just
loved them. They thought they were the greatest thing ever.
they did. They thought they were.
Stop.
I one night I was like, I can't do this anymore. Just shut up. Call them, text them. I don't give a shit what you do. Just knock it off. So I love to go down technology row and just kind of go through it. It's so funny to hear everybody trip through the this stuff right here.
I'm gonna bring down my Blackberries
Apple
for the next
3G.
show. So I'm gonna have all the Blackberries.
Ed loved his Apple 3GS. Yeah, I remember I had one of those as well.
I think I wonder if I still have the old Apple.
Really worrisome. I have the very first iPhone. I have that. I have every one of the iterations of iPhones. And I realized I spent a lot of money on iPhones over the years.
Huh.
A lot of money on the iPhone. So there you go. Yeah, I've got the very first one. And I realized that it didn't do much. I mean, it didn't have any, it really didn't do anything. It looked cool as hell. I mean, I remember turning that thing on and going, wow, that looks amazing. What does it do? Nothing. But it's cool looking.
But it's
cool. I mean, you could get to the internet. The cool thing was you actually had a mobile sort of a look to, although at the time when it came out, you didn't have mobile ready sites. Remember, everybody was doing the .mobi. The .mobi was the mobile version. Then they realized, well, you know.
Oh yeah, that made almost.
They had a mobile version and then they had a regular version. They realized that
you could
once Twitter released Bootstrap, that was gone. It's like you could automatically just based on the size of the screen, the layout would change. But anyway, long-winded stuff to get around. Technology changes and
and now we have AI and you can forget about everything else. AI will solve all of our problems.
I saw a really good interview about one of the guys who coined the phrase AI and talked about. He said, AI, look, it's these large language models which they're trained on to mimic. It's not really doing any thinking right now. It's just mimicking. So he says, see, you can't just add hooks to mainnet when that's part of the thing. Well,
there's another one. Sorry.
Oh, the Sidekick was another one. Yeah, I remember the Sidekick.
Yeah. All right,
Modern
number 5.
Yeah. So you can't just add hooks to a mainnet. And this is where we wish they would, right? We wish they would revive. What's the project that Stefan Tomas and Schwartz were working on?
Codius.
Codius, yeah. Codius would be a nice thing if they could get that grooving now because all the tech is out there.
Yeah, I wonder how, with Codius, and then we still have Flare still hanging out in the wind somewhere. Everybody's still working on the solution here. A lot of talk about the hooks like we're talking about right now, side chains, trying to figure out how to implement completely. A lot of amazing tech out there, a lot of problems to solve, and it isn't completely figured out yet. But people are kind of dabbling in the space right now, and that's what we're talking about. How there could be some solutions out there, but it's still being built, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, maybe there'll be some other technology that'll help kind of resolve. That's why Flare was a little bit early to the game with everything, and we're starting to see progress outside of that Flare could be a thing of the past by the time, with all this new technology, they'll start adjusting, and like Ethereum. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ethereum will be relegated to a dustbin, potentially. Probably
He
not,
makes
but
he makes a good point here. He says hooks involves breaking changes, mostly
yeah.
around its need for higher and dynamically set fees. So these changes would require updates across the whole ecosystem, leading to complete chaos for exchanges, wallets, and others until everyone caught up. So
Mhm.
hooks is a better on its own chain, and he's right about that for now. So careful planning, significant effort, and demonstrable utility that make the effort and risk worthwhile are all necessary for hooks to go live on mainnet. So how is more than just hooks? It includes other stalled change requests. Unless you try to build on XRPL, you probably don't know that IOUs cannot be escrowed and
Mhm.
cannot benefit for paid channels. These are enormously useful for things like stablecoins. Xahau fixes that, making issued
Very cool.
currencies as useful as a native asset. Xahau also includes those URIC tokens, which
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
yeah, we talked about the other night, and the
Yeah.
NFT is the first class ledger object. And this is cool too, because we might see a transition over to Xahau, especially with all the NFTs. We might see that go that way, just because a little more flexibility. So finally, the 600 million initial supply of Xahau XRP, I suspect that'll change too, protects the mainnet. It means that with XRP at 50 cents, the Xahau market cap would have to exceed 300 million for it to make any sense for most people to do a burn to mint, coupled with the 2 Xahau XRP each cloned account receives for free to pay for its account reserve and the 5 ledger objects. There is little reason to believe that anyone would need to burn any XRP to mint Xahau XRP in the near future, or maybe ever. And I know a lot of people got freaked out about this whole burn to mint thing. It's like,
People-
yeah, he's making a really good point. You may never ever have to ever do that, right? It's built into it, but yeah. He says the burn to mint is an option if it's there if you want it. Idle if you have no use for it. And the thing about the options
Why would
are
you
they're
want it? Why would you want it?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, if you burn the mint, you could actually mint all your tokens in Xahau, is the way I understand it.
But if you're already getting 2 for 1 and you're minting, you're
Yeah, I was
getting
gonna say, like, there's
the
no
new
need for
one
it at this point.
without having to burn the original. I mean, there could be a business case to be made. There could be a reason, why
be.
you're burning, and so we could think about that.
Yeah. So then Neil Hartridge,
Has to be burned.
who's one of the chief devs on the on-demand liquidity project, he said, "I wonder if exchanges will object to a plus in the ticker. I've only ever seen alphanumeric currency characters and cryptocurrency nodes or codes, not on Coinbase at least." Yeah, that's a good point. That's probably not going to happen. So
Yeah, you're poor rocking. That's what I was thinking too. Maybe you can use the burnt XRP in a smart contract. I'm sure there's some sense as to why there'd be, purpose behind it,
yeah,
other than just getting distribution of your new one.
By the way, I sorry about that, Eva Rock, and I missed your space earlier to vote for you. I know you were on a X space earlier, and by the time I went in there, it was already like included. I just got there late to the party. But Scott Chamberlain goes on to say that yeah, it's possible. I mean, the ticker will become whatever it needs to become. It really is the least important thing. Agreed.
It's not so important, but it is important to an extent where you don't want to duplicate another's asset and start confusing the space either. There's no reason for it to be XRP plus because it isn't XRP plus.
Yeah, that wasn't really well thought out. But again, I think Scott's making a good point. It's like it doesn't really matter what it's called. It's understand like the ecosystem it is. Even Costa says, "Hey, I think it should be called the Xahau token with XHU as the ticker." And I
Right.
think that's probably what
Exactly.
we're going to end up seeing. You know what I mean?
Yep. XAH, XHU, something.
HXRP. Just like anybody that puts it, the XRP. Like if you think about it, it's like it makes a lot more sense for NFT exchanges to have the XRP. It's on the XRPL, right? It makes sense to have that in the name. It's like on XRP, XRP.cafe makes sense. So it kind of defines where it is. And I suspect that those exchanges will grow bigger and incorporate other chains. Then I'm not so sure it makes any sense anymore. And that may be where you rebrand at some point.
Well, especially since it's separate. It's not like it's a wrapped asset, right? When you wrap the asset, and you get the W in front of it, you no longer have the original asset because now you've wrapped it. So you have to unwrap it to get the original asset back, or the original, 3-letter, to simplify it. Here, if you were to get an HXRP, like that last comment was saying, and you're still having the XRP, it doesn't make any sense. Now you're confused by the HXRP. Well, you just have its own designation because you're still getting distribution of, based on what you read, of 2 for 1. So basically, you're gonna get 2 XHUs for 1 XRP, right? Is that kind of what we were just read through,
You know what? I'll be honest with you, Jeff.
or
The
is
thing
that
I love about crypto,
confused?
it's not confusing at all. I read that
No,
white
it's
paper
not.
twice, and I was like, the second time I was more confused than the first time I read it. I was like, can we simplify this shit already? I mean, it's like, let's wait for it to roll out. Like the snapshot happened for the Evers token, right? And everyone's like, when's the airdrop? Listen, it's like when it happens, it happens. It already, if you had any of your XRP on BitTrue or Uphold, those two exchanges, otherwise it had to be in self-custody. They took the snapshot. It was 50,000 XRP or less. They're trying to avoid the whales coming in and grabbing it all and then dumping it. And then you know how that worked out. It worked out so well at the last big airdrop.
Yeah.
And
Keeper Rockin'
Jeff,
is saying that's why Layer Cake is so badass.
yeah, Layer Cake is badass. And the thing is like, I can't wait for Layer Cake to roll out over there with Layer. So we'll see.
And there's so much. Flare, I would like to see Flare reach its potential. We haven't
Yeah, I
seen
would
any
too.
real major updates on it. I want to see Flare finally taking on, Ethereum
Building's
contract.
hard,
And I
Jeff.
want to see it. It's extremely difficult. And who knows what they're in it. It's timing. Timing's going to be everything. And announcing things prematurely can also disrupt things.
Yeah, so we know Panos, right? You know Panos. Panos is a very huge contributor in the XRP community, and this is really great news right here because Panos is joining the builder community. He says, "I'm super excited to announce Anodos Finance and finally become a builder in this industry, and especially in the XRPL ecosystem. Together with Winchester XRP, we're founding Anodos with the goal to simplify the complex world of crypto and DeFi." Now, this is welcome. It's like, go on. What else you got? Like, simplify the world of crypto and DeFi? I'm all ears, Jeff. This sounds like a really interesting development. And because it's Panos.
Anodos Finance.
Anodos Finance, right? So I love this whole idea. This is Winchester. Apparently has a podcast over there on Rumble. I don't know who he is, but again, I mean, if it's Panos is involved, I'm thinking it's going to be solid. I like the logo. I think the logo is cool.
We have a link to Anodos. Is there anything we can take a look at?
He goes on to talk about it a little bit. Yeah. He says, we're committed to breaking down the complexity of the industry into individual, user-friendly products and tools that make sense for users and access and utilize the potential of crypto and blockchain technology. As we are working through the details and heading for our launch, we recognize that the road ahead may be challenging. It will be challenging, not maybe. But we're embracing every obstacle with determination and a passion for simplifying the crypto and DeFi space. And here we go right here. Anodos will have 2 main divisions. And these are them right here. Hang on a second. Let me open this up. So there's going to be Anodos. Anodos Finance is like the big one. And as soon as this tweet loads, with 2 different missions, Anodos Finance will unlock XRPL's potential 1 DeFi solution at a time. Yes. And then Anodos Fund will unlock crypto's potential 1 investor at a time. So you got 1 for the DeFi and 1 for investor. Pretty interesting. That's all we know on it so far. I don't think they've released much else other than the fact that. But I love it, man. Becoming builders in the space. Jeff, you and I trying to become builders in space. Ran into some obstacles, but made some progress. But
we've made progress. Yeah, we're
making some progress.
Starting,
not
especially
talking about
with
the badass yetis, but
yeah, we made progress with the other project. Just timing.
So this is it right here. This is it. Following it, Anodos Finance. Excited to introduce these 2, Mohammed Adil Raza and Fabian Sanani. as two of the developers on the project, lead developers, and Quantum Lorian as a community manager. Welcome to the Anodos team. It's time to build on the XRPL, investing in crypto.
But I like the name. I like the
I
name.
do too. I love everything about it, Jeff. I really do. I love this project. This is one of the greatest things, and Panos is great. I mean, he's just such a solid. Like, just because he's involved, I'm in. You know, it's like I'm really rooting for him to win and succeed here. Yep. Investing in crypto, you know, this whole idea of investing in crypto for the average person due to various technical barriers. We talk about this all the time. And the need to navigate complex crypto applications, another big problem. Just click this and do this and then move this and then do, yeah, it's so easy, right? Even for people that have been more seasoned, he's like, Anodos Fund aims to democratize crypto investing by offering individuals a straightforward way to gain exposure to the market. Sounds awesome already.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing it, you know, seeing what he has in mind, you know, if he's talking about an investment platform or a utility platform to get people involved. I mean, think about, you have, you know, the Grayscale, you know, ETFs, and, you know, Grayscale has a bunch of different easy on-ramp, you know, Robinhood has easy on-ramp into digital asset. Getting into Coinbase, relatively easy on-ramps into digital asset, you know, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly what their objectives are, or how they plan, how they're going to be different, I guess is the point. How are they bridging the gap between all of this? And is it bridging the gap from someone that wants to build, someone that wants to utilize, or someone that wants to invest? You know, that's what I would like to, you know, see more of. So that's going to be great to see how he expands on this.
This description here, we're a crypto native company on a mission to bridge the gap between the Web 2 and Web 3 and make digital assets easily accessible for the average person. Join us in simplifying the journey into the world of digital assets. I think anything that simplifies it is going to be a positive and a plus. And it's like right there, solving a big problem, understanding that it's not simple, it's not easy. Like, for just a case in point here, Jeff, like, for example, you and I have different people that, you know, in our worlds, right? We have our family, we have our friends, and you try to explain the NFT project to them, and then their eyes glaze over. You're like, dude, look. And they're like, okay, I get it. It's a badass Yeti. What do you do with it? It's like, yeah, it's an NFT. What's an NFT? Yeah, well, it's a non-fungible token. What's that? You know, I mean, it's like, it becomes overbearing for people that aren't in the niche and aren't sitting there 24/7. So to be able to simplify that, we were able to put it over on Supermojo, because all it takes is an email and a credit card, and you got yourself a badass Yeti. It's pretty simple. I'm still waiting for more of you who begged us and pleaded with us to not spend your XRP, and you want it. It's down there in the description, but you can go to Supermojo if you just want to be able to buy a badass Yeti. It'll put it in a wallet for you, but you can move it if you want, so that you have the flexibility. It's not like on Robinhood, you move it over there, it's like, can you get it off there? Oh no, it's stuck in our ecosystem. That's not the case with Supermojo. But if you're not somebody who really wants to deal with it and you just want to own a badass Yeti, that's the way you could do it. So just go to badass, or it's what is it? Badass.yeti.supermojo.com, and it's in the description down there. But that's making it easier. This is solving problems. We always talk about solving big problems, and right here, having something that's going to simplify the DeFi side, simplify somebody getting into digital assets, where you could say this when this is up and running, say like, okay, here's what you do. You go to Anodos, and it's real easy to bing, 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 right, and follow the instructions.
So we'll have to see exactly how it differentiates from Coinbase and Robinhood. You know, I want to see more. I'm looking forward to it. There's room, right? There's definitely room in the space for getting involved and trying to figure out how to tap into staking. I know Coinbase has made that relatively easily accessible. There's still more that has to be done. Uphold, you know, has easy access. People have to get into those platforms. Jumping into a new platform that, you know, as an exchange that isn't a Coinbase or an Uphold that's already been in existence for a while, or a Robinhood that's on both sides, you know, I think, but the space is still new. There's lots of room for competition, and there's lots of room for the big guys, the Fidelities of the world, to start looking around when they're ready to start buying up some of these exchanges.
Yeah. And
You know,
I think when Brian Brooks talked about banks, I thought that would have been the biggest development, but banks are a little bit slow in the draw. It wasn't something they're really into, but I always thought that on your banking app, what would be the easiest way? It's like, okay, let me do this, let me do this, let me buy Bitcoin, let me buy some Ethereum, let me buy some XRP, let me buy some Cardano. And it would have been a really easy way. They could have operated as exchange. Banks are always looking for new ways to make money. This would have been the best way to make money. Would have allowed them to charge a little bit of fees here and there, and then they would custody the crypto. Now, the bad side of that is like banks would have to do a lot of R&D. They'd probably have to hire an outside organization that was trusted, and you know how that goes.
It'll take,
Plus it'll take years.
Right,
Take years, but
for them to
again,
develop
that would have been something that would have brought mainstream adoption a lot faster and quicker. But speaking of Robinhood, there's this one right here. This is interesting because you remember FTX, one of the big holdings they had was Robinhood. So Robinhood actually bought back their Sam Bankman-Fried's seized shares worth $600 million. And the other day on the 1st of September, the shares actually jumped 3% on the buyback. This is a good development. Robinhood completed that buyback of 606 million of seized shares were once in the hands of FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried, according to the SEC filing. Shares were valued at 450 million when the U.S. Justice Department took custody of them in January, and just a month prior, SBF was arrested and charged with over a dozen crimes, and some of them he's been let off the hook on. But as Robinhood, what is this saying? And then Robinhood said on Thursday's filing that it had used the corporate cash on its balance sheet to make the repurchase of the shares. And District Judge Lewis Kaplan, who ordered the deal, could take place overseas. Who oversees Bankman-Fried's criminal fraud case, ruled that the DOJ could have rejected Robinhood's offer if it benefited people associated with the disgraced crypto mogul's alleged crimes. That's pretty much it. Robinhood's share price shot up. Robinhood's shares previously popped after the CEO, Vlad Tenev, said his board of directors had approved the repurchase in February. It's good news. I mean, that's scary to have that stuff floating around out there and could potentially tank the value of the company.
And then just stuck. Yeah, it was stuck being held by the Fed.
Yeah, their sister company Alameda were tapped for the $546 million loan to make the purchase. So you saw that it jumped down under 500 million, just like that. So it's an interesting development. Good for Robinhood that they got that back.
Yeah, it's awesome. So here's, as we start looking kind of bigger picture stuff, we put even in the title here, there's been some interesting developments over time. We have XRP seeing a massive spike, but I want to look at this thing with China. There's still a lot of conversation out there about BRICS, concern about de-dollarization, all these things. And, then there's been, some discussion that about $114 billion has been dumped by China of U.S. Treasuries. Let me just pull this up real quick.
China's in trouble, Jeff. China's like the real estate markets collapsed. They have over 200 million youth unemployed. That they're in serious trouble. They're gonna be dumping a lot of stuff.
Right. There's a lot more that that goes on. And this is definitely a big one here. So why are they dumping? Here we have Saudi Arabia, and look at. Are you getting bombarded by this Temu thing? It's like everywhere I look, all of a sudden it's just popping up these things from China. I wonder why it's on this article from China. Interesting.
It's hard to understand why it could be.
Even though China has been dumping U.S. Treasuries over the past year, the country is still one of the largest creditors of the U.S., second to Japan's holdings of $1 trillion. As for new BRICS member Saudi Arabia, the Middle East country reduced its holding of U.S. debt by $11 billion over the same period, from 119 to 108. So you don't see a huge amount dropped, but you see a significant amount drop. But there's reasons and things that could get into as to the why. What I find interesting, see if we can get back to our view there. So space NBSP, actually added some interesting commentary. I just want to go through that real quick. It's always good when we got you guys out there that are providing great commentary. and right off the bat. So here's the comment. Sure, China is dumping U.S. treasuries. However, we should look at Chinese immigration in the U.S. Chinese want to leave China. Good for U.S. treasuries, and that's true. And a lot of times, the only way they can get their money out of China is by buying real estate in other countries, and they have to have special permissions, and it's extremely difficult. You'll see when they have wealth, they send their kids out of the country to university, and when they're in university, it's a good opportunity to buy real estate. Here you have Chinese will get jobs in the U.S. paid in U.S. dollars. As per January 12, 2023, here's an article there. People from China make up one of the largest immigrant groups in the U.S. While the number of Chinese immigrants in the U.S. peaked at almost 2.5 million in 2019, it fell to under 2.4 in 2021, breaking a long period of growth. There was probably a reason during that period of time as to why that was happening. As we know, things were shut down. The decline was due in part to the restrictions placed by the Trump administration, and obviously it was due to an illness that was spread that happened to stem from that part of the world. I'm sure the U.S. isn't perfect, but give a person freedom from a communist state and U.S. treasuries don't matter. A wolf warrior will always tell you how powerful the country is while it dies.
Wait,
and there you go.
commentary.
I thought that was perfect commentary,
Jeff.
and that was put in before we even got started. That commentary was
hang on
just
a
sitting
second.
there.
Let's back the ship up a little bit, okay? Because let's back this up. Every influencer out there was like, the US dollar is gonna die. Everybody's dumping it. BRICS is going to a gold-backed currency. BRICS is going to a digital currency. BRICS isn't doing any of that shit, Jeff. BRICS is a complete, it's complete shit show over there, okay? They're like, and it's exactly what we said it was, which they're going to transact in their own currency. Big damn deal. I mean, like, who cares? And so if you think about it, I hope they go to a gold-backed currency, because you know who has more gold than anybody? The United States. And if you believe any of that BS out there about how much real physical gold there is and how much has actually been mined, well, I point you to take a look and do a little bit of history, research for yourself, and look at the Grand Canyon and look at what's there and what's off base and where you're not able to go and where there's some underground stuff. Listen, the U.S. has got so much gold, Jeff. And these other countries have a lot of it too. But if you want to go to gold back, what is that going to do? It's only going to prop up the next round, because the next version is the Federal Reserve is going away. Okay. Andrew Jackson got rid of the last one. Guess who else is going to come into office? Orange Man comes in. He's been talking about it. He's been floating this for a long time, for many years. The Federal Reserve is dead. It's a system built on debt. It's enslaving everybody. Every central bank enslaves the people because you have to now pay it back. And they're happy to loan the money. Why is a third-party entity loaning a sovereign country money? Every central bank does that. It's a complete ridiculous scam. So what's going to happen is you're going to have a real gold-based backed asset. Could be digital. Could be a real digital dollar, none of the CBDC garbage. And then, Jeff, great. And let's see, if you want to play the gold game, you guys want to back your stuff with gold. I mean, Putin did a really great thing where they went ahead and backed the their currency with gold. Made a lot of sense, right? It strengthened it quite a bit, but I just don't see it, man. I don't see it at all. Everyone's worried about BRICS. It's going to be really difficult. And if you look at the stable coins, what is every stable coin except for the one we did the other day, the Turkish lira, that new stable coin? But honestly, the majority of stable coins are USD, or they're tied to USD value, or they're tied to precious metals or bonds or some real world value that's tied back to USD. So that proliferation of taking that value and putting it out there and watching how stable coins are purchased in other countries. We have another story here too about when you have countries like Turkey. Yeah, more than 50% of the people in Turkey have digital assets because the Turkish lira is dropping as they're walking from the bank to their house. It's like the value's dropping, Jeff.
And that was it. And that's a reality. And there's a lot of realities on the ground. So Jim D's response there too is the Chinese immigrants' demand for bonds are irrelevant, given the Chinese dumping, not to mention many are spies for the Chi-Com, which is interesting too.
I love love
there
that.
are
The Toms.
and that's a reality. There's a lot going on. We uncovered recently some things were uncovered here in the U.S. That was very telling about what's going on, including police from that country that were in New York City for some reason, and many other things. So you have to be very vigilant about. At the same time, Jim D also says, my big concern is the U.S. Treasury seems determined to make DeFi unusable for U.S. citizens without wallets having KYC embedded to report it. If they cave in like they're doing in the EU, we're screwed.
They're all going to cave, dude, because it's either you survive or you get destroyed. So there you go. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I get it. But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. But check out this story here. This is it right here. So KuCoin did a study, and they did a research study. And over the past year and a half, adoption increased in Turkey from 40% to 52%. Past year, Jeff, jumped up just like that, 12%. Over 50% of the Turkish population owns a digital asset. KuCoin is the 5th largest crypto exchange in the world, collected this data based on the survey responses of 500 people. It's a relatively low sample, but again, you know that when inflation hits in these countries that are really, like, you think about Argentina, well, what do we hear about Argentina? Everybody's buying Bitcoin, right? So it's like, it's not, when inflation is crushing your value, you put it into something that's a little more stable, because your currency is going to fluctuate, and it's not going to go up, it's going to go down, and it's going to go further down and further down. You want to be able to stave off that, and who knows, maybe some of it's being put in even stable coins, but you know, the destruction and death of the USD has been greatly exaggerated. And after all that hubbub about the big meeting and the BRICS countries and so-and-so's in it, now Saudi Arabia's in it, everything. Okay, these countries hate each other. China is not putting up with any of the nonsense. They don't care less. So you're either going to transact in their currency or they don't want to talk to you. So, in India and everything else, it's like, it's a haters club. It's the we hate the United States club, and let's all pretend like we're going to do something interesting, and then, well, we'll just transact in each other's currencies. No gold back, nothing, no digital asset. They can't even have a meeting and agree on anything other than, it's amazing they agreed the fact, like, well, just transact in our own currency, which is what it's always been from day one. So they basically accomplished nothing. But this is interesting. What are your thoughts on this, Jeff, on Turkey, this big development?
You know, I think it's telling. You know, it's just like we've talked about with Lebanon. We've talked about, you know, many countries that have moved in a direction of big, you know, high percentage adoption of cryptocurrencies because they don't have confidence in their own currency. I think that's a reality. It's interesting. Many of those countries, it's difficult to get other currency, so they can't move or hold a foreign currency. So, you know, which they can't have a dollar account, as an example. Many countries, they want dollars. Dollars are very valuable on the black market or a gray market, however they refer to it. And typically it's fiat cash, and they'll convert. And in many of those countries over the years, I'm not sure what regulation and laws are currently, but there were many years where it was illegal to hold US dollars. You know, and so that made, and probably hold other currency as well. So that made it very difficult. And I think when you look at it from that perspective, that at this point, from the crypto perspective, if you have an exchange, if you have an on-ramp, your money is better served sitting in XRP, sitting in Bitcoin, sitting in whatever asset they have access to, than it is sitting in their own currency. Same reason why Venezuelans, you know, moved huge sums of money, you know, out of their country. You know, the same reason we just talked about with China. They're moving, people that have money are trying to move significant sums of the money outside of China because of valuation of currency, because you don't know, you can't predict what the regime is going to do next. And they want stability. They want long-term stability. They want short-term wealth. They want long-term wealth. They want to be able to maintain it, you know? So, and that's the one thing that the dollar has represented for so many years to so many people, is that it's brought stability. all the geopolitics aside, how governments will wrangle and do whatever they're going to do, the dollar itself has maintained stability globally. And you think about what are the stable currencies that are out there: the U.S. dollar, the pound, the British pound, the euro, for and what else? What else has stability like those three assets? Those are
They've all
typically,
lost value.
and they've all lost value. But look at it compared to the rest of the world. They've all lost significant value over time, but they're the most stable. Then throw the yen in there. The yen wasn't always stable. But as far as trade currencies, those are the three primary trade currencies: the pound, the euro, and the dollar. You could throw the yen into there as a trade currency. Now with BRICS, with this notion that you're going to trade in the country's regional currency. All right. So this is what makes it really interesting. I'm wondering how that's going to be accomplished. What's the bridge that allows one to now trade in this other country's direct currency? If we're going to go to India and we have to now take our dollars and we have to find a solution, an in-between solution to now transact that into rupees, we have to go through an FX third party that's going to help us convert. Or we're going to need an interesting solution that might be called RippleNet, that a bank might
Maybe.
utilize, or maybe something called ODL, which is on-demand liquidity. I'm not saying that that's what's going to be utilized. I'm just saying that it's currently one of the only solutions, one of the only solutions that are out there that will allow for a near instant settlement. So now, if I'm going to be moving huge amounts of money, millions of dollars, to acquire something from this other country that's now, due to BRICS, is requiring that it be purchased in their asset, in their currency. I don't know. It's an interesting development, very interesting development. Not, maybe it's a good thing. A lot of things are happening that are outside of everyone's purview, that happen behind the scenes. I don't know. I just find it interesting to see how all these things are unfolding. No digital currency for BRIC. BRIC isn't a replacement. BRIC could be a competitor. It's competing with SWIFT. SWIFT is already antiquated. SWIFT has to go away. There's a lot of things that have to happen on a global scale to move money. Goes back to what Brad Garlinghouse said, from day one, go back a couple years. It was easier to move money and put it in a suitcase and fly it across the world than it is to use the current existing system. For BRICS to now want it in their own currency doesn't simplify things. It makes it more complex. You need ODL. RippleNet. Ripple should be super giddy right now. They should say, this is the greatest thing that ever happened. The timing could be perfect. Hey, that's what all these countries want. And all of a sudden, XRP just mysteriously just got clarity. So XRP is a non-security. Banks should, in theory, be open now through their RippleNet platform to utilize XRP and ODL. Not saying they will, but now BRICS is requiring that. Here you go. We need on-demand liquidity. We need a methodology to convert and settle instant. I don't know. What do you think, Chip? Is this a crazy time?
I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on. A lot of it has to do with timing. And Aoife Rockin said that too. He's like, all about the timing. There's a lot of stuff collapsing all at once. It's that perfect storm. It's the zombie apocalypse is right around the corner, right? You got Burning Man, perfect place to set it off. 70,000 people stranded in a middle of the desert. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, my God, they can start cannibalism, and then all of a sudden zombies running crazy wild. I mean, it could all happen, Jeff. Jeremy Hogan put out a phenomenal tweet. I loved every bit of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff, he talks about the pendulum, which you talk about quite a bit. He said 2022 and 2023 was the beginning of the federal courts reining in U.S. agencies, talking about the regulators. He said last year it was the EPA. The EPA one was a big one because that's when we said, okay, they're going to they're also going to go after the SEC and say, like, you just can't make shit up. If you're not mandated to do it, the EPA tried to come up with climate disclosure rules and all kinds of other stuff, and they were beaten back by the courts. So last year was the EPA. Yesterday was the FDA. FDA is not a physician regarding an FDA tweet warning against using ivermectin for COVID treatment. So this is kind of like, it's getting, so the legal arc is a long one, but the pendulum is swinging. And it's not going to be good for the people on the other side who oppose crypto. It's not going to be good for them. It's not going to work out well. And when people go and vote next time, you're against crypto, you're gone, sucker.
It's a good point, and that momentum is definitely building right now. And the FDA should be on the hook, for a lot of the things that they've done. To his point, they're not a physician. They act like physicians on a regular basis.
Read through this. Let's go through this. This is beautiful.
And it's very interesting if you look at what the FDA has, some of the things they've done beyond this. But FDA is not a physician. It has authority to inform, announce, and apprise, but not to endorse, denounce, or advise. And I'll tell you what, they've been doing that for a long time. They've been denouncing things and making determination and decision on certain medical-based procedure that should be left between the doctor and the patient. And the FDA is they have their fingerprints all over things that have been prevented. That makes no sense. The doctors have plausibly alleged that FDA's posts fell on the wrong side of the line between telling about and telling to. As such, the doctors can use the APA to assert their ultra virus claims. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. Against the agencies and the officials. Even tweet-sized doses of personalized medical advice are beyond FDA statutory authority. And again, they stepped all in it. We reversed the district court's judgment of dismissal and remand for further proceedings.
Love it, dude. I love that. Every bit of that.
The pendulum is swinging big. The Supreme Court made some big announcements, and he's right. Some really big moves have happened over the past year and a half, and we're going to see more of it. Why? Because we have administrations, government officials that overstep the line, and they go into things that are contrary to the permission of the agency, and in many times stepping all over and impeding constitutional rights. Now, it takes time, and it takes time for it all to come to fruition. We have a Supreme Court that's there right now that has the fortitude to actually bring this stuff to light. And we saw another major decision that had to do, we're not going to get into it, but it was pushed back to the states, and it was rightfully pushed back to the states because the federal government does not have jurisdiction. And again, you see, even with the SEC, tying it with environmental reporting, and the SEC doesn't have jurisdiction there. The EPA got, a lot of pushback, got put in their place. The FDA is going to be put in their place. Others will be put in their place because they're stepping all over your rights, and they don't have that authority. And it's good to see. And that pendulum, when it swings back, like Jeremy Hogan mentioned, and we've talked about it quite a bit, the pendulum, when they fraudulently do things, they're artificially pushing the pendulum to the left. When you remove that artificial push, because now they've been put into their place, it doesn't slowly move back the way it normally does. It's going to come back with a vengeance, and it's going to come back a little bit further to the right, because that's a natural progression of a pendulum swing. Typically, as we've talked about it, from a political perspective, the pendulum always swings in the center. It either goes a little bit right of center, a little bit left of center, but for the most part, it hovers in the center. And it just little swings. When Bill Clinton was in office, it was pushed a little to the left. It was brought back to the center because of Newt Gingrich. And then we saw little moves with GW. Then it was pushed back a little because of, and it just kind of swung there. Now we see this major swing to the left with all the wokeism and all the chaos. You remove that, guess where it's going? and you
saw
get
it with Obama and what would happen.
and here you go. And it's a good thing because the country has to be righted, and you have to get rid of the clownism. Clownism has no part in running a country, and you can see how detrimental it is across the world. I mean, all over the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're
By
talking
minority,
about
by this amount of people, get out.
right. Yeah, exactly. By a minority, and when you have a minority of this crazy opinion that are dictating to a majority, it's very dangerous because it's not the
Vote with
will of
their
the
wallets,
people.
Jeff.
People
They vote with their wallets.
vote. Yeah,
Just want to
it's
leave with
crazy.
one story before we get out of here. Well said. This one here came out from this is Xpectar, Dirk from Xpectar, the CEO over there. But he said, "Hey, we see a lot of interest from Mac users for our Xpectarverse, and we're working hard to ensure we can optimize and scale as many platforms as possible.
Very cool.
Starting with Windows, so it will be available on Mac, which I'm very happy because I'm a Mac user, and of course, very exciting turn of events. So I'm really happy to see that. I just wanted to mention that, and essentially, Jeff, that's pretty much all we have today. I mean, for this moment in time, but tomorrow night we'll have Byron Donalds on here. A special show on Monday night on Labor Day. Labor Day in the U.S. is when you celebrate. Anybody who has a job, you get a day off. It might be your only day off of the year, but that's it. Okay, you peasants, you have a day off.
And who do we have tomorrow night?
We have Byron Donalds coming here tomorrow. Congressman Byron Donalds from Florida. It's going to be super exciting. And we're going to talk to him about Gary Gensler because he had the best, in my opinion, of anybody that's ever interviewed Gensler. Nailed him as the bag man for the Clinton campaign. And he was like stuttering. He's like, oh, you're under oath. You're under oath, Congress. You're under oath, Mr. Gensler. Love it. Can bring him in tomorrow night. We're going to talk about some stuff, digital assets. We're going to talk about the state of the government. We'll talk about what he's doing and back end stuff. But I'll tell you what, he's a class act, and we're very excited to have him here with us.
We're excited. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
8
Monday
p.m.
night,
8:07 short show.
Monday, September 4th. So if you're watching this on the replay and you've made it all this way with us on the replay, well, go to onthechain.io, check out interviews, and you'll find the interview with Byron Donald. If you are watching us live right now, make sure you click the bell notifier on YouTube. Make sure it's set properly. That way you get notified tomorrow when we go live. Right after this, we will be working on getting that posted. So you can even set a reminder on that post as well. So that'll go out, but he's going to be awesome. We can't wait to have him on. And you guys are going to love it. We're going to love it too. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So see you guys tomorrow night. Remember, it's a special show. Be here, but that was to accommodate his schedule. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Chip and Jeff. Oh, have a good one. See you in 24 hours. 23 hours, I should say.
Same time as tonight.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.